The cost of living is out of control. There's people that are struggling day after day and unable to make ends meet. They're saying just how much grocery prices have gone up. Rent has just skyrocketed. And even things like insurance that people don't think about too much have just gone through the roof. So why is this? Well, we're going to dive into a lot of opinions here. We're going to take a look at a good bit of TikToks. We're going to take a look at what people are saying out there. These are opinions and accounts of real people. This is something that a lot of news outlets really aren't covering to this extent. I really want to focus on 3 items here: grocery prices, rent, and insurance. And over the past 5 to 6 years, they just have gone out of control. Grocery prices have gone up around 20 to 30% in some cases. Some people have even reported that their grocery prices have gone up 40 to 50% over the past few years. That is absolutely absurd. Let's dive right into it. Let's see what people out there are saying.
Before I leave Publix, I gotta show y'all these prices.
This is for a case of sodas. This used to be $3 to $4. This is $9.29 for a case of sodas. Look at this, for a case of root beer, it's $11.49. A carton of eggs is $11.39.
Come on with these prices, bro. For a bag of barbecue Lay's, $4.99. It's $5 for a bag of chips. It used to be $2. It's crazy, man. What happened to our country in just 4 years? What happened?
Just 4 years ago, all of these were $1. Now we're at $3.59.
I know everyone is feeling the struggle of how expensive groceries are now, but I'm shocked to see this receipt come on my Facebook memories. I was reviewing the new Aldi's that came to New Hampshire. This was the very first one. It came 8 years ago. These are just a few of the prices that we're paying now. Milk is now at double the price that it was before. To film the eggs, but I should have, because it was 4 times the price as what we were paying 8 years ago. The Aldi's website did store pickup and added everything into the cart. $58. That is more than double the price that what I paid 8 years ago. You would have thought this receipt was from 1980. Is anyone as shocked as I am?
So yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. We're seeing price increases of 30, 40, 50, 60%, 300% in some cases for products that you could have bought about 6, 7, 8 years ago. They're costing you way more. And if you get groceries, a full cart of food, that's gonna add up. And people are really feeling the squeeze. No, you are not crazy. No one is crazy to think about just how wild these prices have gotten.
You will not believe how much this food cost me here. Okay, this is one trip to Costco to feed one man, me. Can you guys guess how much this food cost here? You see that? You see that? $560 to feed one man. I'm already almost through most of this food.
How are you all doing this? So I just went grocery shopping. And I'll do a haul for you. How about that? But I just don't understand. Are prices ever going to come back down? Are there any people out there that would maybe know this? Our grocery prices, let's just say our economy is thriving again. Is this just the new normal and we're going to make more to pay these prices? Or will prices come back down?
And I really feel for people. I feel for families. A family of 4, a family of 5, a family of 6, 7, you're having to pay a lot more. If you have more mouths to feed, that's going to compound. And if we're seeing percentages of 20, 30, 40%, that's a lot more money every single month. And this is a huge issue. This is out of control. This should not have happened. To this extent is just outrageous, in my opinion. We've seen a lot of y'all in the community just talk about just how insane this is. And you're right, this is insane. We have a lot of fingers to point to, in my opinion. We have, huge corporations, they're to blame. We have just in a bad situation overall. If you think about the pandemic, it just really destroyed a lot of our stability in terms of prices. We had a lot of supply chain disruptions. We had just the economy just topple over and turn upside down. That was really bad. And it basically messed up a lot of things. You know, there's no secret there. You know, we can even point the finger at the federal government. You know, how could you have let this happen to every American out there? You know, every American is feeling the squeeze. And I really don't think there's a single person in charge to blame. I think it's just the whole system as a whole, you know, to not focus on a very, very important issue like food and until it's gotten out of control like it is today is, in my opinion, really irresponsible. So one way we can kind of point blame in a very subjective manner to the government is the simple fact that, you know, during the pandemic, trillions and trillions of dollars were printed. An amount that has never been seen ever in the history of humanity. Never has there been this much amount of capital, amount of money that had been printed. Well, if you think about it in an economic sense, when you print all that money, at the end of the day, that's going to drive prices through the roof. It's going to increase the demand for products, and in short, it's going to decrease the supply, and that's exactly what happened. In a weird situation in the pandemic, we had all this money being poured in, and it really just skyrocketed the demand for so many products out there. And unfortunately, the ones that are really holding the bag, in my opinion, are the people. It's the middle class. You guys watching, you're most likely holding the bag for that trillions and trillions of dollars that were spent. You know, those trillions of dollars were spent. The argument goes that it would help stabilize the economy. It would prevent a recession. It would prevent a huge economic downturn, which in essence it did. But there was a huge side effect that we weren't told about. Many people didn't know that their grocery prices would go up 30 to 40% in just a few years. They didn't know that their rent prices would skyrocket, nearly double in some instances. They didn't know that insurance was going to go up 40 to 50%. Those are all the side effects of these trillions of dollars being printed. And in the topic of food prices here in the United States, we have around 5 to 10 food producers that basically feed the entire country. Without those food producers, well, we wouldn't really have many groceries to purchase. But here's the kicker. They have so much control over the entire system as a whole. They have a lot of say and they have a lot of power on just how those prices are regulated. In matter of fact, there's been a lot of instances where a lot of corporate food producers have come forward and said that they might have raised prices a little too much. But here's the thing. Once they raise those prices, they're not going to come down. They're not going to come down as fast as they went up. So those prices that you're paying in the grocery store, they're likely here to stay. They might get a little better, maybe 5-10% cheaper, but they're not going to go back to pre-pandemic levels. And to me, that's what's really, really messed up here. These corporate profits in the food industry, they are benefiting some people out there, but in large part, they're not benefiting the average person. They're not benefiting the average American. And that is so immorally wrong, in my opinion.
Here buying chicken, it is $10 for this at Market Basket. The one time a month I buy meat because I literally can't afford to buy meat. Every single package here is over $10 unless you get like a tiny little package for like $5.
Yeah, another TikTok just saying just how insane these grocery prices are. Everyone is having to pay way more. Yeah, we had supply chain shortages. Yeah, we had a lot of pandemic disruptions, but there's no way that people should be spending 30 to 40% more on some of these products, especially these packaged products. But what do you know? That is the world we're living in right now, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's going to get much better in the terms of prices. Another thing that has really frustrated so many Americans, as a matter of fact, it's frustrating a lot of people across the world, In the UK, they're having the same issue. In Australia, they're having the same issue. It's the topic of rent prices. As you know, pretty much everyone in the entire country is paying more on rent, whether it be 10 to 30% more on your apartment or your home. You're spending a lot more. And I think this is having a huge negative effect on the entire psyche of the nation. The American dream, it seems like it's becoming a lot more harder to reach for some people. If we take a look at mortgage rates over the past 5 to 10 years, they've just skyrocketed. They've gone out of control. I mean, you're seeing homes, I saw some homes on Zillow in popular markets like Dallas or Nashville. And many of those homes, they used to cost around $300,000 in 2016. Today, guess what? Some of them cost $1 million. You're talking about a 3 times price increase for the same home. That's outrageous. This is happening across the country, and people are taking note of that.
Freaking out a little bit. Every single year, my rent has gone up by $100. I live by myself. I pay the entirety of the rent on my own. My new rent starting next month is $1,200. $1,200. For one, I don't know how I've even been paying $1,100 for the past month. I don't know how I've been doing it, but I've been doing it. Barely. To divulge some extra information that I probably should not divulge, I get paid every week. And for 2 weeks, I can't touch my paycheck, not even $1, because those 2 paychecks have to go to rent. I essentially don't have any money for 3 weeks most of the time during the month. And that just repeats month after month after month. So I'm not sure about what we're gonna do going forward.
If you want cheap rent without getting a roommate, there's only 2 options available. So for your first option, if you want a cheap apartment, is you have to move to far away land. You have to move to a small ass town where everybody goes to Walmart for fun. There's nothing to do and you'll be bored as hell, but your rent will be $35 a month. Your second option, if you want cheap rent, is your roommate is probably going to be rats and roaches. Your car's going to get broken into. You're probably going to get shot. But at least your city's a lot of fun and there's a lot of things to do in your city. And this is why I think renting is such a very unfair concept. I have a friend who's paying $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Miami, Florida. Then I have another friend who's paying $800 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in a small town in South Carolina.
And yeah, it's really sad. This is something that needs to be talked about. This should be the #1 issue in the country right now, is just how insane rent prices are, how insane grocery prices are. Because the average person, as you can see from TikTok, is struggling. Go talk to the average person in the restaurant. They're gonna tell you, yeah, their rent prices have gone up $200, $300, $500, in some cases $1,000 per month. That's insane. And we shouldn't have to deal with this. But again, that's kind of the world we're living in. That is the economic environment that we're in today. Going back to the pandemic here, it really destroyed any type of affordability in the housing market. We had easy money being printed. Interest rates were basically 0%. Quantitative easing made this a reality. And a lot of Americans did benefit from this. A lot of Americans were able to buy their homes for interest rates of 1%, 2%, in some cases 0%, which is absolutely insane. But that was just a blip in our history, if you will. And now things have kind of turned the opposite, where people are having a really hard time buying a home and finding a home. This can be linked to a huge housing supply shortage, which in turn was a result of the pandemic and this huge influx of new home buyers that took advantage of those really low interest rates. And on top of that, the cost to build a home has just skyrocketed. Taxes have gone up. If you think about labor, it's gone up. If you think about just simple things like materials like wood or tile, steel, all those things have gone up. Appliances have gone up. So who's left holding the bag? Well, it's y'all. It's the American people. It's the entire world really that's left holding the bag, that has to pay this huge 30-40% increase in housing prices. Let's take a look at some opinions here.
How are we supposed to buy a house when my rent is going up another $195 a month? It has gone up $720 in 4 years for the same place that I live in. $8,640 a year more for the same place I lived in 4 years ago. I'm sorry, property taxes are not going up that much that landlords are charging that much more. We have to stop blaming the economy, the government, the president. It is greedy people taking more profits in. When people tell you, just move somewhere else, why would I move to another state that's cheaper? Why should I have to uproot my family, lose my career, just to afford to live somewhere? You're implying people who live in where I live now don't deserve a fair shot at cost of living. And places with cheaper rent pay lower salaries. That's how this whole thing works for the most part. And my girlfriend's a teacher. Like, if she moves to a state with a cheaper cost of living, she might not even have a pension or her benefits anymore. Instead of telling the middle class to keep, looking somewhere cheaper, why don't you all align together and get people out of control that are doing this to us? You are always closer to being homeless than you are to being rich. Everyone just assumes one day they're going to get rich. And that's why they don't stand up for people just like them in the struggle right now. If not for the raise I got 4 years ago, I would be totally screwed. I don't even want a handout or help. I just want things to not be so crazy expensive every year.
And yeah, that's really sad. A lot of people are struggling out there. It's very tough. And we're having salary increases of only 2, 3, 4% per year. Some salaries are not increasing. But at the same time, rent has increased. We're having a huge disconnect. So higher grocery prices, higher rent prices, and now we're going to talk about higher insurance prices.
Is going on with the car insurance rates in the United States of America. I just received a text from Geico about an hour ago saying that I owed a bill or was going to be charged $520 on June 8th. $520. I called them. I said, what is this charge for? I'm a little confused. I pay 6 months for my premium. What is this $520 charge? She said, oh no, that's your new monthly rate. That is your new monthly rate, $520 for car insurance. That is more than the car payment on my lease. How do I cancel? How do I cancel my car insurance? I don't need to drive anymore. $520. I do not drive a luxury vehicle. I'm in a Honda HR-V. I am not paying nearly $1,000 a month to be driving on the road in my Honda HR-V before gas, before maintenance, before anything else.
Guess how much it's supposed to cost me to fix those 2 teeth with dental insurance? I'm going to show you. I am supposed to pay $1,900. He tried to schedule me for tomorrow. And I had to tell them no. First of all, it doesn't work with my schedule. But 2, I'm supposed to be able to make a split-second decision on whether or not I can afford right now.
Yeah, there you go. Something that, isn't talked about too much, but is definitely putting the pinch on many Americans is insurance, whether it be car insurance or health insurance. But for this purpose, I really want to focus on car insurance. It's skyrocketed. It's something that by law, everyone has to have. If you buy a brand new car, the car insurance is going to be way more than it was 5 years ago. Now, there's a lot of factors into this, but if you take a step back here, these prices have increased, but the profits of these insurance companies have stabilized. If not, they've increased. So instead of insurance companies, holding the bag, paying more for services that obviously have gone up, that is then left to the consumer. In tiring times like this, you're left paying more for rent, groceries, and now insurance. It's becoming very challenging out there.
I just got my insurance policy renewal, and honestly, I'm in total shock. This is crazy what's happening in Canada. Look, last year, for me and my wife in 2023, this was our policy cost on our 2 vehicles, $2,008.78. Since then, nothing has happened. We are both working remotely. We barely drive the cars. No accidents, no tickets, no anything. I just got my renewal. Look at this. $3,714.67. This is crazy to me. All of these car thefts that are happening are increasing the cost of insurance. We're letting it happen. These car thefts are not a victimless crime. Our government truly has failed Canadians, and we all need to vocalize this and stand up. This is crazy, especially in a time today when Canadians are barely able to make it by with what they have today. We are continuously being squeezed.
I mean, take a look at that. They said their insurance went up that much in just like a year. It's absolutely absurd. This is happening all so fast within just the past few years. So no, you're not crazy. The American people are not crazy because this is happening across the board. Everyone is having to pay more in literally every single product and service. And when you add all those up, Americans are having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars more per year. And that's having huge effects on savings plans. It's having huge effects on just life plans in general. People are having to hold off on college. People are having to hold off on major expenses like a house or even healthcare procedures. It's very sad, and I really don't think there's too much relief in sight. We're in a very interesting time in history. We haven't really seen this type of thing happen, I think, ever, really, if you think about it, where we had all this money being printed and this inflation. We've seen this type of inflation, but we haven't really seen this type of inflation in this type of economic environment, if that makes sense. I think one of the very troubling things here is there's not really a quick fix to this. The economy and just prices are all intertwined, and people would have to sacrifice a lot for these prices to go down in a rapid fashion. So that's not going to happen. If anything, I think prices kind of will continue to go up. If not, they're not going to lower from now. They're not going to go down. Companies aren't going to lower prices just because the American people are hurting out there. That's not really how capitalism works, unfortunately, in this instance. If we take a look at 2025, we'll definitely see some interest rates drop from the Federal Reserve, and that's going to have some very interesting effects on prices. And unfortunately, again, I think it might increase prices in the long run. So in 2025, I don't think prices will be too crazy, but in 2026, 2027, 2028, in my opinion, we could see prices skyrocket again. We could see inflation go right back up, because if you think about it, that easy money is going to come back when the Federal Reserve decrease interest rates. That's most likely going to help increase borrowing. And when you increase borrowing in a lot of instances, especially in the economy, you're definitely going to see prices go up because the supply of products goes down and the demand of products goes up. And unfortunately, we already have really high prices right now. So they're most likely just going to go up again in the next few years. So I think it's really important for people out there to, budget their money effectively. I didn't want to make this video to fear monger, but this is kind of the world we're living in, and it doesn't really seem like prices are going to come down rapidly anytime soon. Even if we have some sort of recession or economic downturn, I don't think prices will decrease that much. And then if we're looking 5 years from now, prices will most likely go up and go up a good bit, which is, very unfortunate for many Americans out there, but that's just the world we're living in. Well, if you made it this far into the video, then you're obviously wanting some good news. And the good news is that we're in the age of internet, and there's so much information out there for you to kind of help decide how you're going to plan your money. There's a lot of ways to save your money. There's a lot of good ways to get some pretty good financial education free on YouTube, a lot of great channels out there. And finally, it's not a bad idea to invest your money in, a Roth IRA or a good 401k plan. If not that, you can invest your money in some pretty good stocks. And the long term, that's going to go up. If inflation goes up, stock prices will likely go up too. And then in 5 to 10 years, these stock prices will go up. Your savings accounts will go up. So that's some good news at least. I don't see a huge negative to, saving 5 to 10 years from now. That is something that you can do. That's something that's in our power. And lastly, I think it's important to talk about this issue. This is a huge issue. I think it is good to hear that a lot of people on TikTok are having the same issue. It's becoming less taboo to talk about money and talk about financial struggles. Whereas, 20 years ago, it was a financial taboo. You didn't talk about how you were struggling. But today, people are talking about that because the average American is struggling. And that's something that it seems like it isn't going away. But it's good to see that people are finding community in that. In these highly polarized times, at least it's good to hear that there's something that we can all agree on. And that is that prices are just out of control and people are struggling out there. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. To me, this is such an important thing to talk about, such an important topic, and something that is very vital for us to keep our eyes on over the next few years. If prices go out of control, I think the reassuring thing is that we can at least put some visibility on this huge issue. But I want to hear from you guys. Has your rent increased? Have you noticed that grocery prices are just absurd? And have you looked at that insurance bill and just thought to yourself, how is that possible? And why is that possible? Let me know in the comments section below. It'd be really interesting to see just what everyone's saying and shine a spotlight on this issue. If you like this video and you want to support the channel, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps get visibility on issues like these. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another video. Stay informed out there.